Hey, welcome to a new episode of Podcast with Abhash. For all those people who are new, this is a place where we talk with amazing guests. And if you have never subscribed to the channel, and do please subscribe to the YouTube channel and press the bell notification button, and also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And we will be working on podcastwithabhash.com. Hopefully this will be out by now. So for today's guest, we have really interesting one. This has got to do really with he has been a part of building Nepalese underground metal scene from long time, a decade ago, and luckily I had been a part of it as well. So I'm really happy to introduce Umes Shrestha. Welcome, Dai. Welcome to Podcast with Abhash.
Hello, Abbas. Great to be here.
Awesome, Dai. Really glad, really glad to see you after such a long time. And you feel like healthy and you feel fit and fine as always.
Yeah, I'm healthy because I've been doing a lot of yoga and a bit of exercise as well. So, and also during this lockdown, I've been pushing my fasting limits as well. So I've been doing intermittent fasting for almost 3 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
But,
You started all the way from creating the metal band to now you're fasting and doing yoga.
Yeah, life is weird.
So let's give a little history on you. And I feel like you have done a lot of amazing things in providing a big venue for a lot of musicians in Nepal. A lot of people don't know because this is growing, and I still think it's a really big underground scene in Nepal.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know the concerts happening. So everything is happening in the university school level. So for the parents and a lot of people, you might never have heard of this underground scene. So can you please give a little bit background on like what your history is and a little bit on yourself as well?
Yeah, so this whole thing happened when I was a student back in 2001, I guess. And I was also learning web designing because that was the new thing back then. And actually, I had to do a project on website, right? So I thought, what is my passion and what could I reflect on that website? So I was just surfing around and I stumbled into metalsocks.com, metal-socks.com. And there was a pretty interesting website, even though the name was pretty hilarious. And I got my inspiration from that website and I thought, why not start a website here representing all the bands, especially from the underground scene. So I started with ktmrocks.com. And the first band I featured on that website was Ugra Karma. Mm-hmm. Because a couple of days ago, I had an opportunity to meet Sunil Dai at one of the legendary places in Kathmandu, that was Cat Shop. So this shop was where we used to get all the audios, all the ripped, dubbed audios of the bands that we could never buy, right? So that was a very shady place, a very dark place, and a lot of people would go there and buy metal albums, all these underground albums. And fortunately, I met Sunil Dai over there, and I had a small talk with him that would it be okay if we featured his band as the first band in our up-and-coming website, and he was quite okay with it. So that was the start. And after a while, I thought having a website is not just enough. Maybe there should be something, an agency, a platform where bands could come, interact, and also do some gigs. So I gathered a few friends, and then we started organizing concerts as well. A very lo-fi, very minimum budget concerts. The sound system sucked, but still, that was a start. In 2001, no one would be imagining people hang around in Mahindra Police Club.
Oh, so the first concert started at Mahindra Police Club?
Yeah, probably Mahindra Police Club, and another one was Bhupu Sainik. That was like ex-army club.
Yeah.
So those were the only two venues where we could do concerts, and very ironically, because those were the kind of authorities
Those were the
that we were
police and
doing.
the army venues, and
Yeah.
introduced metal song, which is basically more like a fuck the authority kind of music, right there.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times the cops would, come in and stop us in the middle of the show as well, because they didn't know what kind of music we were actually playing. They thought it was a normal pop rock concert, very popular concert. But when they started, when we started doing those, there were a lot of interventions as well. So there were a lot of gigs we could not do it completely, and a lot of bands were furious at the end because they could not play their gig, their shit. So interesting days. So that's how we started, and then we started featuring more bands into the website as well. So it was like a two-way thing. There was a website, and we were also doing concerts or organizing concerts, and that way we could somehow give a platform to the bands who didn't get the platform.
So basically,
And
from
yeah,
what I remember and from what I felt, is like as being me myself a musician, which who came a little bit later on the years of KTM Rocks. KTM Rocks,
yeah,
you basically started KTM Rocks website first,
yeah.
right? And you, knowingly or unknowingly, you wanted to start a venue where you feature a metal band, but did you realize you just built up a whole section of interest in featuring that genre of metal music to the Nepalese community, and you basically are like big. You have one of the biggest hand in building up the metal scene in entire Nepal.
Yeah, probably in the hindsight, it feels like we were able to do something really significant to create the history. But during those days, it was just for fun. It was just pure adrenaline rush, and it was fun because we were doing something rebellious as well. And we used to piss off so many musicians and people during those times. We were quite abrasive, I guess, rude. And we had this slogan called "Stone all the track singers" as well. Like, we were sick and tired of the culture, the music, the way people were taking singing, that we thought that it should be something worthwhile. It should not be a joke, right? So the track singers, they were really, really pissing on the musicians and the music, right? So we thought, why not piss them off as well? So we said, stone the track singers. It was easy because again, because we were only a few people in the internet those days. We also got noticed very, very quickly, and there were people. At some times I thought that if I step out somewhere, if I'm walking alone, people would be coming at me with knives and stones, because I was pissing off people so much.
So basically, when you started the website and when you started organizing concerts, did you have bands or other types of bands that were better performer into the metal scene, or did the performance? I mean, once you have a venue, people would have an interest proportionally. Yeah. But when you started, were there good bands that were like playing? A lot of them probably were into rock music that were influenced from Beatles and previous generations. But like, I know at least in other cultures, punk rock is where basically a lot of whoever wants to make a relief from music, from the society pressure, they go into punk rock. In Nepal, you started up, instead of punk rock, I think the metal scene took the most part of it, as being one of the place where people vent out their frustration in music. Did you know how well did it start?
Well, it started way before KTM Rocks. There were already bands in the early 90s and in the mid 90s. I don't remember a lot of them, but there was a band by Iman Saha. And there were also bands like Vampires. I don't recall those names, but there were certainly bands who were doing a lot of heavy stuff. And Yeah, Satistais, the Nevas, like those people were also doing pretty thrashy heavy metal stuff back then. But my point, a bit of grumbling was they were not doing original stuffs. A lot of bands they were just doing cover stuff, right? A lot of Metallica, a lot of Deep Purple. So one of my original intentions was when we started KTM Rocks and when we started doing concerts, we wanted to promote originality as well. So we were pretty clear to the bands that if you wanted to play in our concerts that we organize, you need to have at least one original song. If you come with just cover songs, no, you're not allowed to be a part of our concerts. So maybe because of that insistence, or maybe because of that principle that we held at that time, a lot of bands thought that now it's time to come up with originals. So yeah, there were already bands in the 80s as well. I guess there were so many, rock and roll bands, blues bands, but again, a lot of them were cover bands, and that would not have, created a lot of history in our own music scene. So yeah, I think probably we insisted and we were so adamant, stubborn on the fact that you need to have an original, otherwise you're out. So yeah, I think that was a big thing that we tried to accomplish back then, and it worked out well because then bands started, recording and releasing demos, a couple of songs, with a couple of songs. Some bands also started releasing a full version of albums. So in that way, I think we made a lot of contribution towards the music, I guess.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, basically, just having a venue, a place where musicians can perform, is like a home for a lot of people. It's like without a home, you're homeless. So without a stage, musician feels homeless too.
Yep.
And when you provide a stage, when you provide a marketing platform with the KTM Rocks magazine too.
Oh, and yeah, that was late.
Yeah, that was late, but that was probably when I started getting to knowing of your organization. But even having a venue, even having a place to perform, is you're providing home for a lot of musicians to basically grow. And when you started KTM Rocks now, so it is still continuing till this day. Is it?
Yeah, right now it's pretty inactive, and it's sort of active on Facebook page as well. That's it. But
there's other other organizations and other event organizers who are still doing the metal ground scene.
Yeah.
And that grows with time. But with you having all of those started, you kind of grew up the popularity of metal music. When I knew about the metal music was basically when I've never heard of metal music. So I know about, I've seen bands with, say, a little bit of hard rock, Metallica and Megadeth, but literally no idea about metal music. I go to high school, Xavier Academy, and we get concert tickets. One of our good friend, Sudeep Harda, I forgot if a Knife or which band. I forgot his band.
Yeah, he was a drummer.
He was a really good drummer.
Only Knives.
Yeah. So he was in a different section. So we got concert ticket from him and was like, oh, like we were getting concert ticket. And I had no idea. A good friend of mine, I used just like me and him decided to go into the concert venue, which is at, I think, the Mahinda Police Club. That's like a box hall. The worst design for a concert hall. It looks like you are inside a matchbox and the sound reverbed everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's the venue we went to. And I was like, okay, we're going to metal scene. I was like into college. I was all happy. It was like, oh, what is it? And I'm dressed all in, I think, like a red sweater, like happy, joy. And when I see around, everybody's in their black outfit. I'm like, everybody's in black outfit. I did not knew it was like a unspoken code word for being in the metal band is to wear black.
Yeah.
So I started, and they were performing. I don't know, I forgot which band were there, but everybody was amazing. It was just, how are they so good? how are these performers, these entertainers, these musicians so good at it? I could not believe it, because the musicians that you see on TV or in the regular concert arena, they were just playing pop songs, a little bit rock songs, and the technicality. And when I see it live, the guitar shredding they were doing, the drums they were performing were just like 2-3 steps away from what I thought was possible. And I'm also seeing it live with the people who are just my age. So I'm like, what the hell? Why are they so good? And why have I never heard of it? Then that just blew my mind. And next thing I know is just like I got hooked into, okay, maybe I can be into it. So once I went to other colleges and I started meeting people and started going to rock, it took a while for me to enter into the scene. But that was definitely a peaking point, is like that music exists and I could not think away from that venue, like what happened there. So that was just you'd say mind-blowing. That happened to me then.
Yeah. And it didn't matter what kind of music they were playing. It could be metal, it could be punk, it could be death metal. And you mentioned Sudeep Hada. He was also in the band called Nastic. And these people, the name itself was kind of very bold, right? Nastic. And they were playing music which was a mix of, at least their intros were usually Arabic sounding intros. And I don't know how they got into that kind of music, but again, it was very, very heavy. It was crushing. And Sudeep Hada, probably he was around 14 years or maybe 15 years old. And he was blasting the drums like he was Igor Cavalera of Sepultura. Like, and those were the days when like people thought, yeah, this is also possible. And yeah, this is also possible to be very, very loud and dangerous, but at the same time, so spiritual, right? And yeah, and people like you, young people, very, very impressionable at that age. And so it just catches on with you.
Yeah. When you started all of those, when did you thought it would be, okay, this is what I'm gonna be devoting, is to promote this music? Was it like your side job or side hustle?
Yeah, it was a side job for many, many years, because we were not making money. In fact, I was losing money. Yeah, in almost every concerts, like we had a loss, but still, it was a fun loss. That's the way I took it. And I used to write. I used to also do some coachings, tuitions. So that was the way I was earning a little bit of money for myself. And a lot of time, those money went into the concerts. Those money went into the website maintenance and all. So I was losing a lot of money. There was a lot of pressure from my home as well, because I was in my early 20s and I was not doing anything worthwhile for my parents, right? In their perspective, I was.
That's like a story of every single musician up there.
Yeah. So in their perspective, I was doing really, really worthless stuff. I was not serious about my studies. Then I joined bachelor's, and in the bachelor's as well, I never, this is the education system here. I didn't have to go to the class at all. So I was enrolled at Trichandra College, bachelor's in arts. I was majoring in sociology and English, I guess. Yeah, I never had to step into the class at all, and probably because of that opportunity, I was able to focus on Ktm Rocks as well. Yeah.
So when did it start to really grow, compared to when you started with people you knew or with the musicians that you've heard of that you invited? When did it start to have more impact that you account for?
I think after 2 years, maybe 2003, because at that time a lot of bands were releasing their albums. There was a band called X Mantra, and
X Mantra is pretty popular in the mainstream as well right now.
Yeah. So back then they released their first album, maybe in 2002. I'm not sure, maybe in 2003. And there was another band who released a similar album. I mean, not just metal bands, but there were also punk bands like Inside Two Stupid Triangles, right? They also released a couple of albums, and no, and slowly, it's just I think it's just a marketplace where if you see someone doing well, the idea catches on, and others also start doing it, right? So there were also a few organizations, maybe groups, who started releasing albums, started conducting or organizing concerts, and the scene really started picking up maybe around 2004, because there were gigs almost every week. And they were even like, because of, again, it's a marketplace economics, maybe, whatever, there were factions also. There were gradually, there were a few factions growing out. Like, there were bands who were very, very comfortable playing for Ktm Rocks, and there were bands who were not comfortable playing for Ktm Rocks, because we had certain ideology, maybe certain expectations from the bands. So it was fun time. The bands, the scene, the people, coming together and doing something worthwhile. From 2003 to 2010, I guess there was a serious growth in the scene. And later on, again, I'm not saying that we are solely responsible for this, but I think
you guys definitely made it way
seeds.
popular.
We planted the seeds for all these things that happened. And then after that foundation, we had another big collaboration, a huge opportunity in terms of Silence Festival. And these guys brought in way better equipments, way better sound system.
So
and
who were they?
The Silence Festival, right? These people, I'm sure you must have heard, like the Silence Fest. It's a huge metal festival in Nepal, thanks to the people behind it. Nowadays, they're also, I mean, I'm sure you must have heard, they're involved with the band Underside, Vikrant, Abhishek, and
those all seems familiar. I know about the silent, but the festival, the organizers themselves were from Nepal, or was it an international?
No,
team?
they are from Nepal.
Nepal, okay.
Nepal.
Yeah, those a lot of. Anytime you say any names, it's like, oh, I remember those. I've been, as you know, like I've been in the United States for about 12 years now. So the way I got contact,
you missed it then.
If
you are there for 12 years, then you missed it. The Silence Festival is, I think, one of the biggest things that has happened in our country, and a lot of credit goes to the people behind those festivals.
Yeah, having anybody with technicality and equipment or anything that's Nepal's lack for music industry, them brings a big value.
Yeah.
I myself,
big bands started coming to Nepal. One of the biggest bands was Vader. I would never have dreamt having Vader in Nepal. And then we also had, recently they brought Testament.
Whoa.
And that was like, what?
Vader and Testament both came to Nepal.
Yeah.
And I also I know about Michelangelo coming to Nepal. I saw pictures with Anil Tital.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of international performing band that has had their footsteps in Nepal too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember like 2000 when I came to, at least our band, originally named Prophets of Doom. Still, that name still feels funny. But when we came into the scene, I think it was around 2005-06. It was okay. I'm going to tell you exactly the story of how we came into contact with you, right? So I had no idea. I think there was some website, probably Ktm Rocks website or somewhere. I got into contact with our previous bandmate, Riwaz. And I had no idea. He just, we were in contact, and I was just like, okay, I want to play something. I know a little bit of drums, and that's how I started. And he just like, okay, we need to meet. I'm like, okay, we're not used to meeting random people, right, from online.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, he's like already there at my home. It's just like, okay, that feels odd, but he was like super enthusiast, and I'm like not so good with meeting new people. It's like, guys, okay, we need to play band, and he's already there, and he's like motivating me. It's like, we need to play. I know, like people in metal band concerts, probably you, and he was like, okay, we need to have form a band. So he started contacting. Oh, he knows a really good guitarist. That's when Gaurav Sitala Rav, he had a contact with him as well. And when we started jamming up in Gaurav's basement, basically basement or Gaurav's extra room in his house. So we made there our band practice, but we were not good at all. Like all of us had like individual talents. Riwaz and Gaurav were really good at guitar, but they had not performed that well in bands, metal bands. Gaurav had his own history, but and we had to find the bassist. I had to learn about drums, and I had to. My rate of improvement was like skyrocketed as soon as we booked a gig, and I didn't know how to perform well. I'm like, I need to practice. I need to practice, and that's where I started. But we basically got the. We wanted to get the gig. We wanted to play in a concert because we were so enthusiastic. Like we want to play in concert. That's what makes us a musician. I don't know what it does, but we went into the meeting with first KTM Rocks concert. I forgot it was in Mahindra Police Club, the first concert.
Yeah, probably.
I forgot the name of the concert, but he brought us in and we met. And you had us all like had a little meeting, and what we talked about when everybody will be performing, what is expected, and we had our songs original and some cover bands. We had no idea. We were not good at all. And then we like every day, as soon as the concert date hit, we practiced so much. We got super good by the time we went into the concert. Super good relatively, not compared to now, but when you came there, I still remember it was just like, you'll be paid with momos.
Yeah.
And we were happy, like okay, and nobody was expecting any pay. We were just like happy to perform. And when we first had our stage show, we performed, and then the next day there was a photo in the newspaper and like about the event, and it was our photo. And we were just like, we could not recognize ourselves, like, is that us? But we were so happy, like everybody got a newspaper. And that was the story, like I'm so proud of till this day. Is like we did not care, like we just wanted to perform in the stage in the venue of metal concert, and that was like in my resume. There you go.
Yeah.
Have you had like
Yeah,
what?
and you mentioned momos, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So we never had any sponsors, right? For almost 10 years, we did it solely based on the ticket sales. So we were dependent on ticket sales, and backstage, we would just start counting how many sales, how many people are coming in. Are we good? Are we good? Is this going to be break even, or are we going to have loss again? So that was the whole thing back in my head every single time we were doing the concerts, right? So if 200 people come in, then we're safe. If 180 people come in, then we're screwed. If 300 people come in, we will have a Momo party. So that was our calculation, right? So it was always about 200 or less than 200 or more than 200. So if 200 people come in, we're good. And whenever more than 200 people came in, we would have a Momo party with the bands. That's the only thing we could offer, because we're not ripping off their money. We're not ripping off from the sponsors. We were doing solely for the scene. So, and whenever we had sponsors, we kind of paid it to the bands as well. Just a little money, whatever we had saved after all the expenses, we would just distribute it among the bands as well. So that way, you reminded me those Momo days with bands. That was fun.
And after those were like 2005, 6 around there. I completely forgot. I think it's around 2006, and our band, like Prophets of Doom's 2005, I think now. stayed probably in the scene for around about a year. We probably performed not only KTM Rocks, but we were guest band in here and there. So about 7-8 concerts, and that was a long lot of time involved as well, because all of us were in trying to search for a high school who wanted to apply for United States, and that was that time of the year when you formed a band, you made a really good friendship and relationship with the bandmates, and you were like, okay, I want to be a musician, but like then life hits, career hits, and pathway changes, and bitter, like I had to get away from the band. However, once we got into the metal scene, we were comfortable, like, okay, we want to go make a regular music as well, put up like a kind of technicality and all of those metal music kind of vibe into regular music. We wanted to start that. So I personally, and with my bandmate Gaurav, Rav, we started our own hard rock band called 11th Hour. We basically had 2 music videos in Kantipur television.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those are, a lot of people don't know. We had 2 music videos in Kantipur television. We used to, or say, we published in Kantipur television, as well as we had a lot of albums out, but nobody buys an album. And we used to have our own friend call for our song to be demanded. It's like our bandmate used to call by themselves, can I request this song from our band? Because we were like hard rock, we were not catchy scene, like we were just like making fun songs that we enjoyed, and we did not care about like what would the public enjoy, what would they request. We just went with the mentality of metal band. We want to perform, make cool music, and of course as a commercial music, it doesn't quite suit with a lot of people, and we're happy that we tried that with the same attitude, like when we performed in the metal scene. Yeah, in the venues and so on, provided by KTM Rocks and others, it was just like a purely out of passion for the music, and being able to, that kind of makes us like, at least performing in the metal scene kind of gave me a little bit of, how do you say, encouragement to stand in front of hundreds of people and perform. That was like one of my big breakthrough. It gave me confidence. And it probably have given everybody a lot of confidence to just be able to perform with all the musicians. How has your interaction been with other bands?
Yeah, I keep talking with a lot of musicians. Unfortunately, like you said, they are not around. So many are abroad, but still some of them are continuing. Like Diwas Gurung, right? He was in Albatross. He went to
and he was
US,
my guest in podcast as well.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, he was the second guest, and I want to thank him a lot, because I did not have any equipment. He was my second guest. I have been in contact with him. He's super awesome. Right?
Yeah. So anyways, when I was saying that if you're still continuing with music, you're creating your original songs, you're collaborating with other people, and you're giving meaning to something that you have created. That's it. I guess that's the whole point of doing music, right? So it doesn't matter if you were motivated by starting through a metal band or through listening through some other bands. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what matters is you're making a contribution, you're making some meaning out there. So these insights or these lessons are all in the hindsight. Back then we were kind of very, very close-minded, and close-minded might be a negative word. We were very, very focused on one genre, maybe one particular aspect of the genre. But that was good, because of that, now a lot of people are into music. A lot of people are full-time musicians, right? Bands like Jindabad, they had a lot of evolution.
And that's the band with Rohit, right? Rohit Sakya.
Yeah.
And he was my classmate, or he was in a different section. So, and
Nice.
I knew him. He played in a talent show in Jav Academy. Rohit used to perform guitar and sing, and was like, he's amazing. He's like super awesome. And I never knew, it's like when he went to Jindabad and performed those amazing songs and performed, and now he's doing media. He's working in the media side. and he built his whole career out of those music.
Yeah. So if we just take a look example of his previous bands, I remember them playing with Bibushan, Abhishek, and there was another drummer.
They were
had
from
a different
Atomic
band.
Bush.
They were still in
Yeah.
high school, probably in school, I guess. And they were playing concert, and everyone was like on top of their game. Like they were like kids, 15, 16 years old, and Rohit was doing bass solos back then. And I was like, damn, this kid is really, really good. And from that, right, Bibushan and his other bands, they were into death metal, and they also released a few demos. But from that death metal, the evolution, they started, and these guys, started making their own imprints. Bibushan now is a really, really amazing movie maker. Abhishek and Rohit, they are still in Jindabad, and they have other bandmates as well. Kiran, the current drummer for Jindabad, he started in a band called Usmaweg, and it was amazing progressive rock metal band. And he was amazing for a kid who was playing that kind of music. And he I think he in one of the gigs he did this cover of Dream Theater, I guess, the drum solo part.
Usmaweg, they were famous for them covering Dream Theater.
And that just blew my mind. And from there, the seeds and all these things, from there now these guys have evolved into being full-time musicians. I just met him a couple of days ago. He was cycling. I don't know what he was up to. And I said, "Where's your mask, man?" And he was saying, "Hey, it's in my bag." That was a nice meeting. And okay, so what are you doing? And then he said, I'm taking drum classes online, offline. I'm also making a lot of music. I'm with Jindabad. We're focusing on making new music. We're releasing some new music as well. And that just kind of made me realize, damn, maybe there is something that we did back then that this kid, now a grown-up man, he's still into music. He didn't choose another path. He didn't go to other ways, but he's still in music, and that kind of made me feel really, really happy. I didn't tell him. Hopefully he will listen to this and he will realize that I was very, very proud and happy for him.
Oh, definitely. I would think he would be really thankful to you. And it was the same way, like, I'm thankful to you too. Like, once we started on the music, playing metal music in Nepalese underground scene, that gave you a different kind of comfortability or brotherhood of musicians, so that we felt comfortable. I came to United States and I chose music as my undergrad. So I have a music degree and I do music engineering and like original composition till this day, and I love metal music. I don't listen to it. My ears are a little bad with loud music nowadays. But I still, like, anytime I hear music and I start to analyze it, I love those kind of, the metal vibe comes again, and I feel younger. Same with Gaurav, who started with performing with our band Prophets of Doom, but he has his other music background. But he came to United States and still continued, had a couple of albums out, and he's still continuing to this day making music. So we all feel kind of have a similar story of the music never leaves us, and we all got to know that we were attached to the music by performing on the stage, performing on the venue in the Mahindra Police Club in what was that? What was the ground that where it's a big ground, like there's fun stuff to do. Oh my God!
Fun Park?
Yeah, Fun Park. Is it called Fun Park? Yeah, that venue too.
Fun Park,
yeah, we performed in there. We performed in a couple of other places, different venues. But those were like the memories that can never be gone away, and those always attaches to us. Like a lot of the other bands, what was there? I remember performing. I think you had three of us, three different bands perform with us as Prophets of Doom, Bhumi, with Anil and others, and as well as I think it was the Times, and we performed the first of the set. It was a 3-band concert, and I have a one big complaint to you. You know what happened in
Sure.
that concert? A biggest complaint a drummer can make. Do you know? You forgot to put a carpet under the drums. The biggest complaint for any drummer. You forgot to put
Yeah,
a carpet under the drums. In the concert, while we were playing, you know what happened? All of the drums
I can
start to roll
imagine.
away.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I was putting like everything I can to hold the drums, like putting my slippers. And, like the audience would not know, but I was like holding the drums.
Yeah,
I was trying to not hit it too far. Every time I hit a kick drum, the drum went further away. And by the end of start of the set, I was like playing this way. By the end, I was playing this way.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So those were the things that we didn't know, we were just doing it DIY style pretty
yeah.
much, and there were so many things we didn't know. I remember, yeah. um, um, One time, like, again, we were watching videos of other bands,
Mhm.
performing in the concerts, and a lot of bands thought that it was cool to put their foot on the monitor, right? The vocalist and the sound guy used to be pissed off with that. We worship our
Equipment.
equipments, and that guy has the audacity to put his foot on my monitor, and the sound guy would just stop everything, unless that guy says sorry to me. I'm not gonna switch on the sound anymore. And like, we were had hard time convincing both of these parties. Come on, man, don't do that, okay? To the singer and to the sound guy as well. We're really really sorry on behalf of that guy. Please, let's have fun. So yeah, we were all doing this on our own. There were no mentors. There were no people
Mhm.
telling us that you should do this way. This is the way you should arrange the sounds.
Yeah, that was the biggest problem, right? Everybody
Yeah,
hated the sound guy. Everybody hated
yeah,
the sound guy. We were not good ourselves, and we just hated
hmm,
the sound guy. It's
yeah,
a lot of times you feel like nas na autan agantedo, and
yep,
a lot of the band were like they did not put out the music like the output themselves pretty well, and they just
hmm.
hated the sound guy.
Yeah.
And
Everyone wanted to have a loud
uh,
volume on their monitors, individual monitors, and that was just creating chaos everywhere in the stage, and the output beyond the stage was even meshy. It was completely muddy, and no one knew what was happening, and we just had to blame the sound guy. Yeah.
yeah, I just remember because I mean, personally, two sound guys should have been more, should have communicated with the band more better.
Yep.
But I
Hmm.
feel they did not. They were just like in there. They were just listening to it, trying to manage it. I would assume a lot of people would not have a sound engineering how to say educational level. They were not in that level for
Yeah.
sure, and nobody was. And it was just
Yeah.
an experimentation where everybody grew. But whenever when the feedback comes and everybody hated it, and that's where it's like that guy didn't put up something, and everybody was in that mentality. But whenever the program went smooth, whenever it was everybody performed, it was magical. All of the
Yeah.
as you said, like all of the bands I remember, a lot of the drummers, a lot of the guitarists, everybody was on the peak of their games. People always, I guess, the teenagers, when we were teenagers, we always wanted
Hmm.
to show off, like, okay, we are doing our best, and we want to cover song that no other bands would dare to cover. That's what we wanted to do, is like we covered Lamb of God, and those were technically hard songs, and
Yeah.
I think we did okay for those times, but not nothing as good. But those were like a challenge in yourself to grow. So whenever we say we want to perform the songs that nobody performed, we want to compose something that nobody ever thought of, that brings out so much musicality. Whenever I heard the band Vumi, and whenever they mixed a violin with a metal band, it sounded so harmoniously magical. And whenever
Yeah.
we heard about other bands with the there were many bands which skips my name, but everybody performed at their best, and there was a friendship, there was a bond with everybody, having to do with like we are all growing up, we're in this together as an underground scene. and
Mm-hmm.
you brought us all together in as well. So, how after 2000, you said it lasted till around 2010 when it grew really big. Where
Mm-hmm.
are you? Like, as you said, the KTM Rocks is under a little on the sideways for now. When did you depart from KTM Rocks, being continuing with the same journey?
Yeah, the last concert we organized, I think I remember it should be in 2013, um, probably the Halloween gig. Like we were doing at least four big gigs, big in a sense that we would do it very, very regularly, and people would, the bands would be, you know, on on the back of our neck, demanding that we should let them play in that particular gig. So they were like Halloween. Another one was Ides of March.
Yeah,
I don't
I think we
remember.
played in Idea of March. So
Yeah. So the last one was around 2013. Maybe it's a Halloween, maybe it's Ides of March. I forgot. But after that, I got a bit frustrated. I guess maybe life took me on,
mhm.
just like you said. There were a few things that I was really, really frustrated with. First, there were the venues. So we would not get any venues at all.
Mm.
If it was closed venue, the only option was Purple Haze.
Mhm.
The police club, the army club, we were banned from every those closed venues. And the other
Was
option
it the
was
loud music
for,
that banned? What was the loud music that was the reason they banned you?
yeah, probably, but also a couple of reasons like the people who were coming to the gigs were, not like they were smoking and they were just, drinking. There were brawls, there were fightings as
Yeah.
well sometimes, and we could not control that.
Mm. Even
We
in
never
police
could
club,
control that.
they
Yeah,
just came in smoking weed.
yeah,
Nobody
yeah,
cared.
yeah. And uh, as long as there were no fights,
Yeah.
we were okay. But when people started breaking into fights, and there were a couple of incidents that, like, the restroom area was properly damaged,
Yeah,
and we
that
had to pay
sucks.
for that as well.
Mm.
And I thought, like, what's the point of doing this
Mm.
in this way? Like, I was still putting my own personal pocket money into it,
Mm.
and like there were no venues really closed, small venues anymore. The only one was Purple Haze, and also probably my own lack of interest in promoting the bands anymore, because for me it was like I was like grooming up a lot of bands as well, right? So when they started forming, I would take their band pictures, I would write their intros, their
Mm.
bios, I would promote them. And after a while, after 6 months, after 9 months, they were gone.
Mm.
Right? So this happened so much that I got into frustration. Why should I continue doing this? Because after a while, this band is not going to be anymore here. These guys will be abroad doing something else.
Mm.
So yeah, all those frustrations crept into me, and I said, yeah, I should not be doing this anymore, because what I've done is already enough
Mm.
to create that foundation. Now there will be some other people, some other bands, some other organizations. They can do it on their own. And I just stepped aside
So,
after that.
yeah, when you stepped aside, did you take away the KTM Rocks website or magazine as well, or did it still play a role?
No, the magazine stopped publishing around 2006, I guess, because again, that was a huge um, mistake, I guess, because we started with passion, but we never thought it from a marketing angle.
Mm.
We were not good marketers. We were just doing it solely out of passion. And to be in the publishing business, we had to know these people, the key people behind the scene, the publishers, the one who would distribute, and all these. Like one time we had like the fourth issue of the magazine was coming out, but we had not still received the money from the first issue. I didn't know the whole shady business behind the publishing and distributing. Like there were so many things we could not control, and ultimately we had a huge loss, and we had to stop that magazine as you know
Yeah.
sad for us, but we would love to have continued that thing. There were so many things happening because of that magazine. There were writers, there were musicians coming together. We were approached from India, from Pakistan, so many things happening, but we had to stop it because we were piling up all these losses behind the scene.
Did you? I guess marketing wasn't your best
Yeah.
step then.
We never knew the whole shady business behind it.
Yeah, there's
like like our magazine was 25 rupees, but I guess at the end of the day we would only get 8 rupees out of that. Everything gone to the distributor, a publisher, or I don't know, the print, and even that 8 rupees we would get it after 4 months, and we could not survive that way.
So how many magazines or audience did you reach? If you can
I think we
recount.
published around 14 issues of the magazine. We wanted to do it monthly, but sometimes we would do it twice a month. No, not twice a month. Once in 2 months. And yeah, it ran around for 3 years, 14 issues. Big achievement, but we were screwed financially.
Oh man! Well, thanks to your unfortunately, that was the outcome. But I was glad I was in one of those issues, or Ben was in one of those issues. But thank you for that. But after that, where did you put your life into? After leaving all of these venues, you said, as you said, you are a teacher now. But right at that moment, when you decide you want to walk away from what you have been building, and with I'm guessing you had a lot of frustration, you had a lot of anger too, with all of those things happening economically. Basically, in Nepal, when you start a new business as not say which is underground, normal people would not like it. There's only niche market, and you had to you invested so much of your money, and then you go into those bureaucracy of all this money, find anything that is money, there's a corruption, and you had to deal with a lot of distributors problem and so on. When you walked away from those things, like how did you start your life again?
I told you that I was also doing some part-time jobs. I was into tutoring, into teaching. So I think I found my calling through teaching, I guess. I started teaching in a school in 2008, and the first 2 years of my teaching, it was, now I reflect, it was the worst way to teach, I guess, because I thought that teaching was just it should be done the way my teachers used to do in my schools, and that's the way I taught, because the only thing I saw was my teachers teaching. And that was kind of model for me, what a teacher does, right? So I was a very, very rude, very, very authoritative teacher. I used to, make fun of students' accent, their grammatical errors.
Would you want to? I almost feel like you are about to give an apology right now to all of your previous students.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was rude to you guys. Yeah, but again, I did it DIY, and I never had a training. I never had any teacher training courses. I did it DIY. I learned it on my own. But I guess those are the things that make you stronger, and the mistakes that you make and the reflections on those mistakes that makes you grow and makes you a better person, I guess. And that was necessary for me. And I never thought I would, connect my teaching with KTM Rocks or all these things that we did in the underground scene. But now I realize that a lot of things that I do in teaching right now
Hmm.
is somehow connected with the things that I did back in the underground scene, right? So those were the insights, the experience, the frustrations, the persistence, being very, very stubborn about our ideology or philosophy about music. A lot of these things come into my teaching, and KTM Rocks actually shaped my own perception about teaching as well.
You are a college professor right now, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
like, what are you teaching now?
I teach business communication and academic writing for MBA and BBA students,
Okay.
but that's a part of my teaching. Another huge part of my teaching is teacher training, right? I don't want the teachers to be like me when I was starting. So a lot of times you know, few of my colleagues and I organize workshops and trainings for, especially for the higher ed teachers, because in higher education there's a huge gap between the real teaching, right? A
Hmm.
lot of experts, a lot of professionals come into teaching without proper pedagogical knowledge. And yeah, of course, that's very, very necessary. We need people from industry and from expertise to come into the classes. But we try to, again, there's a gap, and we try to bridge that gap through pedagogical training for those professionals who want to be teachers and educators. And that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I saw your Unlearn project.
Yeah.
That was really fascinating because
Hmm.
from what you can correct me if I'm wrong. From what I got was you are teaching the teachers to unlearn, or teachers, students, everybody to unlearn what they have been used to. Getting used to
Hmm.
is a what do you call it? It breeds uncreativity. So
Yep.
you are putting people in uncomfortable position to relearn themselves to try to see out what doesn't work instead of what works. Try to see out what doesn't work and try to bring efficiency. So can you explain more on those? Was I correct in explaining that?
Yeah, you absolutely. So unlearn, it's a very concept, it's very interesting. So all these times we learn from our society, from culture, from our surrounding, from friends and everywhere. And through that we kind of build our own system of belief, our assumptions and our theories about the world, about students, about teaching, about education, about politics, right? So we have all these assumptions and theories set in our head, and unless we are ready to challenge those assumptions and those theories, we will never get to see the other perspectives. So unlearning is about questioning your own self so that you get to see other perspectives, other realities. So in teaching, for example, we have this concept called teacher is the center of the teaching and learning process. Teacher has to be the center, right? The teacher has to be the guru. So this is one big belief that we have held in our mind, maybe because of our own teachers, maybe because of our parents, maybe because of our education system. But unless we question this belief, am I really the center of this teaching learning process, or the students? Should I be in the center? Should it be about me, or should it be about the students? So when we start asking these questions, we start seeing that our role as a teacher should be to improve or to enhance the learning of the students. So students should be in the center of learning and teaching, not the teachers. So that's one example, right? And when we start unlearning and uncovering all these assumptions, we will see our own identity, our own behavior, you know, reflecting on our teaching. So if you go into the class and you have this belief, I'm the center of the whole teaching and learning process, it it shows up in your behavior, the way you behave with the students, right? The way you correct their mistakes, the way you talk with them. Even, sometimes you feel justified in beating up the students because you think that you're the authority, you're the power. So you should punish the children, punish the students, not the children. So all these behaviors that comes from your belief and from your identity that you have made up about yourself. And I think it's time to unlearn those things. That's the whole point of unlearning.
Did you? I even saw some of your pictures in police academy, and you have been probably. What was? Is it under the same thing, or was it different project?
That's something different. We also have these workshops for anyone who is interested to improve their presentation styles, presentation skills, and funnily, we had this opportunity to go and train the communication officers of Nepal Police, and those police officers were not the ones who would see on the streets or in the crime scene, but they were from the communication department, and they had a lot of academic kind of work as well. So we were fortunate to go there and train them on their presentation skills.
Yeah, when I saw your pictures, you were like, I was probably guessing because I knew you from the Unlearn project, and what is he trying to get into the police's head? Is like you should unlearn to be. I don't know how you'd want to go, but I found that really fascinating because the concept. I really like that concept of unlearning. A lot of we have been. I had other guests who are teachers, who manage teachers. So those will be released soon. Of course, by the time we have this podcast, but they have been trying to improve the educational standard of Nepal, like for a lot of villages students and all over the Kathmandu Valley as well. But your concept of unlearning, the unlearning kind of makes it so prevalent for a lot of teachers who are teaching. Any teachers who have a bad way of teaching will ruin a lot of students' education than teachers who are trying to make it good. Because there are a lot of horrible way of teaching. It's just everybody. One thing I really hate about Nepalese education system is it's all about memory. So once you're done with the exam and your grades are in, you forget all of your education. I forgot the next day after the exam, and that I feel is like a complete waste of the whole resource that you have spent a whole year learning about a book and everything. And as soon as you're done with the exam, you're done. It was just like a memory test, and that's one complaint I always had with the Nepalese education system. And with your theory, it almost felt like the teaching system needs to unlearn that and try to figure out a better way for the modern education system. And with that project, have you had have you had good result with it with other people?
Again, if I have to compare it with how we started Ktm Rocks and the fruits of those Ktm Rocks days, we can see it now, right? So probably we are planting the seeds of unlearning in Nepal's education system as well, and someday, hopefully, in our own lifetimes, we'll be able to see those changes. But I guess it's a very, very small step towards that direction, but very, very necessary step. And again, I'm hoping that we're building that foundation for teachers and for educators and institutions as well, education institutions as well, to rethink how education is being provided to the students, to rethink on the roles of educators, to rethink on the roles of policymakers, right? So we are building that small momentum, and hopefully this momentum catches on and becomes bigger, and people will start thinking really, really seriously that this is a massive problem, and we need to rethink, maybe even destroy everything that we have right now and rebuild everything from the scratch. We don't know, but we hope someday that this will happen in our education system.
To build up, they need to have a destruction, but you don't need to throw away everything. You just can pick up the good things, right? And how is it?
Of course, there are some good things in our education system as well. Like not everything is bad. Like I used to think that, again, this is on my own unlearning process as well. I used to think everything is bad with our education system. Every single thing, the teachers, the books, the curriculum, the policy. But now I realize that there are also good things in our education system. The values, the social values that we have in our education system, the values of interdependence, the values of respecting elders. Now, we don't want to throw these away. Okay, so we want to rebuild the education system, but yeah, having those good values and the aspirations of education intact in that new model of education. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And how is your teaching going on in the Corona era right now? I've heard there's been a spike in cases in Nepal right now, and it's curfew again, and things
Yep.
are not turning that good. How are things in life up there?
Yeah, we're having the second version of lockdown 2.0, I guess, for another
Oh.
week, hopefully. And yeah, for me, it's been a very, very interesting phase. The last 6 months, it's been very, very challenging, but at the same time, there's been a lot of learning as well. Challenging because I'm a very, very, what do you say, activity-based teacher. So I need to go into the class, be around the students, have them engaged in a lot of activities, make them reflect. So the biggest challenge for me is to overcome this my own style of teaching, the face-to-face style of teaching. But at the same time, this has given me a lot of opportunity to think about my own style. Right? What if this continues for another 2 years? I I should be grumbling, I should be complaining, or should I, start doing something else? Plane उडे एकैछिन यार.
Oh, okay.
Do you hear that plane noise? I'm strange to hear plane noise.
No.
Lockdown ko बेलामा पनि. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, hopefully we can edit that out.
We might keep it, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's okay. That's a new, let's say, interesting transition in our conversation. But what was I saying?
So
Yeah, I was.
wait, you
I
said,
was.
as you
Yeah.
said, like there's not much plane. So I guess there are not many flights around. So
Yeah.
you basically felt like, oh, there's a plane, and you're excited about it.
Yeah. So it's very rare these days. Maybe a couple of flights. I don't know how they are managing these flights at these
Yeah, it's
moment,
been
but
really worse in America as well. A
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
how to say, airplane flight companies. Did I say flight company? Airlines.
hmm,
They are like really going bankrupt, and it's horrible. There's
yeah,
Nepal has like 4 or 5 planes. Up here, it's like thousands of planes. A
yeah,
lot of companies.
yeah. A lot of companies are bankrupt,
Yeah.
filing for
And this
bankruptcy,
is
I guess.
throughout the world. It's really bad. I think
Yeah.
the Chinese or the Russian, they're making a joke like the Russian are the first one to come up with the the vaccination, and a lot of people are
Mhm.
saying it's just vodka.
Yeah, probably,
Probably.
probably because again, very very superficial knowledge about this, but a lot of people who are dying uh, because of corona versus those people who didn't die
Mm.
when they tested positive for corona, the smokers and the drinkers, right?
Yeah.
They survived somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, this
I don't know
in
how,
the
but
United
yeah,
States too. A lot of people are so confused about who actually gets it, who might get sick. One of
hmm,
the most common thing is like somebody, if you they say like vitamin D, people who have a lot of vitamin D are usually okay. So a lot of
hmm,
sunlight, staying out in the goods outside. So they are making us stay inside the house instead of getting outside and getting vitamin D. It's like everything is working against you. This gets
yeah,
infected inside the room more easily, and they're making us with the curfew and everybody. They're basically you are staying inside the room. So from my non-medical says like at least go outside and get some sunlight. That might help out to get a better immunity. But rest of it,
yeah.
probably the vaccination is the only cure.
Yeah, at this point, I think we should have this common sense about flu
Mm.
virus like this, that it's about your body's immunity,
Mm.
and your body's immunity, it grows through sunlight, proper diet,
Mm.
proper exercise, and breathing as well. You know, a lot of times it's about nose breathing. I just heard this term from Joe Rogan's podcast. We're doing it for years and years, and now this guy comes and he says we're doing
Ramdev.
it bad. They are mouth breathers, and nose breathers. And I was like, what? I've
Yeah,
always
mouth
been
breathing is
breathing through
more.
now nose.
Yeah, I don't know. Like nose, you have no nose hair, and that
Yeah.
I guess the trachea, like whatever the connection is a lot smaller than the mouth breather. Who like we eat food, you don't want that. I don't know. I'm just faking it out, but it feels like there's something different between mouth breather and nose breather. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's what correlates with the corona of people getting more infected. But
Hmm.
Nepal currently, what is like how many people are infected in Nepal?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Probably, I'm not sure. I have to check it.
Yeah, my mom
Probably
dad
50,000 people are
yeah,
infected. I might be wrong here.
yes,
I have no clue. The death rate, I guess people, I don't even know. I have to check this.
yeah.
Check the
It's been for
website.
so long. People stopped
Yeah.
caring that much. You're just
Yeah, I
okay
guess.
that
Yeah.
many people died, which is unfortunate to be used to, but that's what's happening here. Right now, every day in Dallas, where I'm at, there's more than I'm just giving a glimpse, but there are many people, just more than definitely more than 10 or 100, I don't know, but dying every day. And the lack of care, I would say, or people's just being afraid has
Yeah.
decreased suddenly. It's it's a weird disease. Okay, we're rooting for the Chinese to come up with some vaccination because
Hmm.
things are not gonna look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with you teaching. Are you teaching online right now?
Yeah. And I just wanted to check the
Oh
stats
yeah,
of Nepal so quickly. So it's about 31,000 cases and 146 deaths.
146 death.
Yeah, I said 50,000. I was wrong. I need to check.
Yeah, I mean the
I don't want to make
146.
make a
That's a
blunder.
big number,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah,
unfortunately is not the worst.
yeah,
But yeah, by the time this podcast is out, definitely will be more. But
yeah.
that's a for especially like a country like Nepal, which everybody is dependent on everyday work. Can you just imagine? Like I heard about a lot of people just dying out of hunger because they
Hmm.
have to work every day. They were doing
Yeah.
they were carrying loads. They were everyday labor workers. They have no source of income. They have no money from anywhere, and they are susceptible to getting infected because they lived in with a lot of people inside apartments,
Hmm.
and that's just such a horrible scene. And I don't know what is a good way, but I think curfew is definitely in not a good place to be
No,
at all.
that's not a solution at all
Mhm.
because I guess there was this quote: people would die out of poverty and hunger more than
Far more than.
out of corona.
Yeah, and that's
So,
pretty much also a common occurrence in a lot of other countries. I'm
hmm,
probably guessing India is in even a worse place. They have a lot of population with a lot of poverty, and
hmm, hmm,
they are in a restriction. They are doing the restrictions as well, so they're in
hmm.
probably even worse case than Nepal, where it's just like vaccine. We need vaccine. Hopefully they'll
Yeah,
come up
vaccine
with a.
and probably I don't know. We should have this community immunity,
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
so once the number, that's what America I think indirectly are heading towards is community. I forgot the word again. Uh,
Immunity.
Immunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically a number of people around you and around the community are all infected, had been
Hmm.
infected and are okay, so they don't
Yeah.
transmit anymore. So it
Yeah.
becomes a virtual wall of people that don't commu- communicate those diseases or those infections. So
Hmm.
the community where a lot of people are infected and are okay are better suited than people who are not infected at all. So it's better, in a good sense, it's better to be
Hmm.
infected and not die. A lot of
Hmm.
number having that is better than not being infected at all because you are always afraid to be infected. So
Yeah.
Nepal is in the case of everybody is pretty much healthy now. Everybody is getting infected in Nepal. In America, is kind of getting used to a lot of people getting infected in the community, and hopefully things will get better. But as I said
Yeah.
again, the vaccination is the only solution. And how, like as I asked before, are you teaching online right now?
Yep. So for the last 6 months, I'm teaching online. Not just me, but a whole college. It's online right now.
Yeah, how is the online community or online teaching in Nepal, especially for in Nepal? Is it
Mm,
like, even possible to have a good education online?
Again, it depends on your definition of good, right?
Okay.
But let me just explain what's happening here. Luckily for us, the college I'm working at, King's College, luckily for us, we were doing it kind of hybrid model, blended model, because our university is Westcliff University in California. So we had been doing it for almost 4 or 5 years. So it was a blended or a hybrid model already, and it was easier for us to transition into full online model because our curriculum, the syllabus, the books, the assignments, they were already online, and all we had to do was prepare ourselves for synchronously teaching, right? Real-time teaching. So the transition was smoother for us because we were already doing it. However, there are only a few colleges they were able to do it. Right? They were technically, their infrastructure was really, really good. The internet and the backend, the learning management system, everything that was already prepared for them, and they could do it really, really well. But others, almost, I'm just guessing here, almost 90% of the colleges, they are not operating right now because they don't have the infrastructure at all. So students, a lot of students in the school, in the colleges, they're just sitting at the house and doing nothing. Maybe a few colleges have done something through Facebook, maybe through Viber groups, maybe WhatsApp groups. But at this moment, it's very, very terrible. And the government has no idea what's going to happen. So they just said, okay, continue the online education, but they don't know what's going to happen because we don't have the infrastructure at all. I'm talking about the whole Nepali education. But again, for us, it was smoother, lucky for us because we were already doing it on a similar platform. Now we just had to incorporate Zoom for our live classes, for our real-time classes. And besides that, we already have a set infrastructure. So it was easy for us.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I
still, not
guess
easy because, again, oh
comparatively.
man, like I said, I enjoy the real classroom vibe, the energy, the environment, and it's so difficult to have the same vibe. And we realized that online class and face-to-face classes are similar, but they are not exactly the same. So we have this metaphor of apple and pineapple. So if face-to-face class is apple, then online class is pineapple. They are apple in some ways, but they are completely different. So we unlearned this belief again that we thought that we could lift and shift everything into online. But we now realize that it's impossible to lift and shift into online because the online is kind of pineapple, and we have to have different expectations, different approach towards online
Yeah, it's
teaching and learning.
almost like when a lot of the technology came and you can read stuff on your laptop, on your tablets, people thought like, oh, paper is going to be gone, nobody's going to read papers. But it's not like that. People who like paper, people who like to say you teach on class in front of the student would always love that, and you already have a benefit over in that section rather than teach online. Like we are talking via Zoom, with thousands and thousands of miles away. This is a benefit, but our interaction would probably be a lot different and better if you were like we were doing this on live. And that is something you can't change. The technology at least can't change. There's good, there's bad. We just have to select what is right.
Yeah.
And I really hope you get to things go better on Nepal, things go back to, so that you could go teach in your class in regular ways. And maybe
I hope so too.
things are looking glim, but you always have to keep a hope. And I
Yeah.
hope really want to thank you again for providing us, like our band Prophets of Doom, with Riwaz, me, Pronoe, and other band members, and any other musicians. We want to thank you for providing us a venue to explore our musicality and be part of some
Hmm.
history of metal scene in Nepal. And really thankful for being in my podcast today too.
Well, it was a pleasure. I almost never talk about KTM Rocks at all. Like,
Oh,
for some reason, I don't know. For some reason, for all these years after 2013, I've stopped talking about KTM Rocks and those days, even though they were a part of me for all those years, and my teaching is also a part of from that era. But today, I don't know why. I just wanted to talk about it after.
this
uh,
guy.
Yeah, yeah, probably the credit goes to you.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. I kind of had to pull up people from thousands of miles away trying to get
yeah,
inside your head. But I would really want to, I really appreciate whatever you had done. And I really hope like good luck lies ahead for everybody with you and teaching. So thank you so much for being in my podcast.
yeah. It was a pleasure talking about these things. Thank you, Ash.